so
Is that
we'll
your
call
phone
it.
or?
Oh,
Okay,
I didn't hit the wood thing, I hit the glass in front of me.
there you go.
All right, so, it is 3 o'clock, so we will call the Finance Committee to order. Do we have any, public comment today? All righty, going into the approval items, we have the minutes before us.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
All right, I will second them in Commissioner Watson's absence. Is there any discussion on them?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Okay.
Motion carries 2-0.
Do we need a motion to excuse?
Not from the
Commissioner
committee meetings.
Watson? Okay,
Just
all
a
right.
full commissioner.
Okay, great.
Mr. Dormady, the SPLOST IGA.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You have before you the SPLOST 2022 Intergovernmental Agreement. The SPLOST is set to begin April 23, last for a period of 6 years. Estimated $133 million is going to fund certain capital outlay projects within the county. Required by state law is an intergovernmental agreement between the county and any other governmental entities that it's going to be sharing funds with. The IGA before you includes both Tier 1 and Tier 2 projects. Pursuant to the IGA, the Tier 1 projects are anticipated to be fully funded and completed based on the projections of the SPLOST proceeds. Tier 2 projects are only implemented and funded if the actual SPLOST proceeds exceed the estimated costs of the Tier 1 projects. Included in the Tier 1 projects are an estimated $6 million for Exit 29 elevated storage tank and production well, and $7 million for water and sewer service extensions. Additional water and sewer extensions are included in Tier 2 projects at a cost of $2 million. As mentioned, this IGA is required by the Georgia law. The county has worked with us in drafting this and have approved it. I'm not sure when that's going to be on their agenda. Any questions?
You're comfortable with the agreement as it is?
Yes, sir.
When will we get the first distribution?
As soon as both of the agreements are approved.
So it we get retrospective back to April at
Yes,
that point?
we will. Yes, sir.
Is there a motion?
Yes, I'll move that the Finance Committee recommend approving the SPLOST 2022 agreement by and between Glynn County, Georgia, and Brunswick-Glynn County Water and Sewer Commission for the receipt of the 2022 SPLOST funds.
I will second the motion. Is there any discussion?
I will say that motion may seem odd, but that is the actual legal name of the organization that's included in the motion.
Okay, that's fine.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
All right.
Motion carries 2-0. Mr. Burrows, as you know, approval items 3, 4, and 6 were just brought before the Facilities Committee earlier today, and due that Commissioner Watson's not here today and that Commissioner Cook and I both sit on that committee.
Right.
Unless there's something's changed in the last hour or so, this is the exact same presentation we saw an hour ago. I'd entertain a motion just to blanketly approve those 3.
That'd be fine with me, yes, or no changes since the facilities meeting.
All right, I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No.
All right, all those in favor?
All right.
Motion passes 2-0. Surplus equipment, Mr. Burrows.
Yes, sir. We have 4 vehicles, 1 trailer, and 1 forklift that we are requesting to declare as surplus. You can see there the equipment. The first truck has a little over 280,000 miles on it and has transmission issues. There's a trailer that we no longer need. It's in decent condition, but we used to use it to haul lawn equipment when we self-performed our lawn care. Since that's been contracted out, we have no use for this trailer anymore. Forklift with hydraulic issues that has been replaced with a new unit in the last year. And then 3 Kia Souls. These were vehicles that were used by the meter reading crew and purchased in 2014. We have transitioned that fleet to a small pickup and/or cargo van with the ability to actually take some meters with us and tools. So the request here is declare these 6 items as surplus and allow us to dispose of them in the manner most beneficial to the Joint Water and Sewer Commission.
All right. I'll move that the Finance Committee recommend the full commission approve the above listed items as surplus to be disposed of in a manner most beneficial to the JWSC.
I will second the motion.
All right.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Motion carries 2-0.
Okay.
That concludes the approval section of our agenda. Discussion. Excuse me, Ms. Wilson.
Sit in the back here. Yep.
Do what?
She was talking to me here. Make sure I get this going.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. We have before us the financial statements for June 2023. This is our year end, but please note this is just a first pass of a process that will go until like September.
Right.
So we will bring forth another copy of part of this in July and August to kind of show you where we are in our steps. We still have transactions coming in, invoices, construction pay apps that are in the processing
Right.
stage. So
Right.
these numbers, some of these numbers will continue to change. We have our bond sinking fund. I will note that is $692. We did make the principal and interest payments on both bonds. Well, the one bond was just a interest payment, the last that was pre-funded, and the principal payment on the 2017 bonds. If you will note on the intergovernment receivable, interest receivable, those are zeros. Those will change over the next couple of months. We will have the intergovernment receivable will be the SPLOST. We will have to book an entry for April, May, and June because funds for the previous year but received in the new year. So you will see that number change.
Do we have an idea of what kind of magnitude that is for those?
Well, the first check was what, we know it's gonna be 282 or something like that? We
So it's
don't know
around
beyond that.
250 to 300 per month.
Per month? Wow.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So we'll
And-
book those as we get them.
My understanding with the agreement with the county is that has to be in a separate account?
Yes.
Yes, and we do have a SPLOST account already set up from the previous.
Oh,
We're just
are you
continuing
using the
to have
same
it,
one?
Yes.
Yes,
And this is with the new bank, though? Yes. Okay,
yes. And we'll continue to track
right.
it
And,
as it
and,
comes in.
that's just one of their requirements. I mean, we could track it just fine
Yes,
through our system without that, right?
correct.
Okay,
Yes, we
all
do
right.
keep a spreadsheet of the funds as they come in.
And
what we have
everything has an
received.
account number and
Yes.
and all that, yes.
So interest receivable, that will be on our investment funds whenever, as we do our year-end entries. The unbilled revenue in August, we will get, that is based on consumption prior to June 30th, but not billed until July. So it will be the end of July before we can even start to calculate that entry.
Right.
Inventory 1.9, that will also be, have some changes on that as we settle up what our inventory is. Down to our capital assets, fixed assets. That number is also going to increase. We do have some capital contributions that have been approved that need to be recorded. And I'm not sure where we stand on some, if any projects close June 30th or not.
Unfortunately, no.
So, construction in progress, that's at 26.3 million. Again, we're still processing June pay applications, so that number will change just a little. Down to current liabilities, accounts payable, that will increase as we process these invoices with a June date paid in July. And also when we do our year-end payroll calculations, the accrued salaries and vacation will change. At the bottom of the page for long-term debt, you will notice that June 30th, 2022 was at 41.4. This year we're at 39.6. Excuse me. After we made the principal payment in June, we did do our adjustment from long-term into short-term. So short-term increased by the amount of this upcoming principal payment. Page 2. The only comment on this page is our net pension liability. Those numbers will change in September probably. That will be one of the last entries calculated at the end of our audit. Any questions on the balance sheet?
On the interest, on the retainage payable,
Yes.
what's our typical hold in retainage?
It
We-
depends on.
We typically we hold 10% up to 50% of the contract value, and then nothing else. So we actually hold 5% until completion,
10% up to 50.
and then we don't hold anything else. We hold that 10% through the end of the contract. So it ends up being 5% of the total contract
Okay.
value, but 10% up to the for the first 50%.
And then after that, we don't hold anymore, but we don't release that.
We don't release it until final completion.
and at that
Typically,
point-
the final pay app that we request 2 final payouts, one for whatever outstanding work, and then we request a separate one for retainage payable.
Yes, and we release the retainage when they have final documents.
We get all the final documents as
Records.
necessary.
Right, okay.
And sometimes we, for a large contract that we know there's only a handful of punch list items left for like Academy Creek, we reduce the retainage by half, because we were holding like $600,000, and there was only $100,000 worth of work or something remaining. We will reduce it at times depending on the situation.
It definitely makes sense to hold nothing, makes it painful
Yes,
if they don't do it.
that's
because
exactly what we've done.
of it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, on to page 3. Summary revenue. So our year-end operating revenues, 2.2 million. That is over the projected budget. That is in part due to new meters, new taps, and our interest income. It was above our projected total. We had a better year this year than last year. At the bottom, we have capital fees. And I do need to make a note to change that to capital and SPOS. The capital fees were 2.3, which is down a little from the previous year at 2.8. And we did receive a SPOS 5 check, the remainder of the SPOS 5 that we were to receive on June the 30th. $178,000, which brings the SPOS to capital fees to 2.5. On to page 4. Expenses. Our purchase orders for June 30th, when we ran the report last week, was $412,000. We are, I ran it maybe an hour ago. We're already down to $395,600, and we're still processing invoices, so that will come down a little more.
Right.
Anything that moves over into the new year will just be rolled forward like July the 31st. That's our cutoff date for any more transactions for previous year in order for us to start doing our year-end entries and run our trial balance.
So if it's after July 31st, you'll just do it to the next year?
Yes, all at that point. We're assuming at that time, all the departments have a chance to check their outstanding invoices, purchase orders, and all of that, and we're done with year-end.
Yeah.
They're very generous. I'm ready to cut it off July 1st.
Yeah, but we're still getting invoices that are dated like June the 30th.
Right.
Pay apps dated with an invoice dated like July the 8th, but it has to go through the whole process.
Right.
So it's work done.
Keep bugging them.
We do. The auditors will be here the last week of July, so we're in a position we can start uploading August. Did I say July? Sorry.
So we're
August.
getting a real early start on it this year.
Last week of August. So we'll do a cutoff on July so we can start uploading things to them, but they need that trial balance to test some of their stuff, so we've got to get it all wrapped up and done.
Right.
The operating expenses, $1,280,000 over the projected budget, but that does include the $412,000 of the purchase orders. Brings us to net operating at this time of $926,000, and before capital fees, $518,000. Any questions? On to page 5. Our page 5 is our group insurance. We do this on a quarterly basis. As of June 30th, the admin stop-loss aggregate total was $206,767. Our self-funded expenses was $1,447,000, brings us to a subtotal of $1,654,000. The $58,375 under this is the deductible reimbursements that the organization agreed to with on the premiums for the employees.
Right.
We are counting that as part of our insurance costs.
Right.
So we track it separate through the year, and then we'll do a year-end entry to move that over into the cost. And that will bring us to over budget by $7,600.
So the 1.7 million is, but that's not final yet, is it?
No, it is not
Because
final.
could be some more claims coming in.
Yes, so last year we had to book a year-end liability of claims incurred prior to June 30th, but
Right.
not
because I know there's a lag between
Yes.
services and billing with medical.
Yes, and last year, our year-end entry was $181,670.
Okay, right.
So in the last few months, our insurance costs have been a little higher, so it may be a higher calculation,
Right.
higher number based on the calculation. On to page 6. Supplemental schedule of cash balances. We are still in the process of moving our financial services over. We are almost complete. We still need to phase out the lockbox from Orlando to Charlotte. And as that phases out, our revenue account with Truist will phase out, and the checking account will remain open for a few months so some checks can clear that account before we have to void those checks and move them into unclaimed. On the group insurance for United Healthcare, we have a $29,000 minimal balance. In August, that balance will raise to $50,000, so you will see that number change in the upcoming months.
Why are we doing that? Because,
That request from United Healthcare because
Okay.
of the claims increases.
okay, because I know we pay weekly, isn't that correct?
We do.
Yeah.
But they, if their claims are, $60,000, then they'll send us a invoice for that $60,000 that will keep that balance at the 29.
Okay, gotcha.
And that will increase starting August 1st to 50. So in July, it'll still be 29, and then we'll see it up.
Okay.
Our investments did better this year than they did last year, and I'm going to defer over to Mr. Owens on explanation there.
So, when I started with the Joint Water and Sewer Commission last year, I had the fortune to be the bearer of bad news, which was that last year, at the end of the year, we had a $2 million write-down of fair market value of our investments. Basically, we ended last year with an investment balance of $43,410,000. Our investment balance at the end of this year is $50,861,969. It's a big jump. So let me qualify that. $7 million of that was transferred from overnight cash accounts into our investment account. But that leaves us with $451,000 of increase in our investment value for the year. And that's basically a net figure of our investment performance. We had $1,095,000 in interest and dividends on our investment portfolio this past year, and $46,525 in fees. So that leaves that's a net of $1,048,000. Fair market value, because of the economic environment and interest rate hikes that continued on from last year through just a few months ago, we saw fair market value of investments continue to decrease through most of 2022. That trend reversed in November, and we saw increases November, December, January. Since January, been a bit of a mixed bag of up and down, but the net fair market value adjustment was, for the year, was almost a negative $600,000, but significantly better than a negative $2 million.
Right.
And offset by our growth in interest and dividends over the year. So, once again, the positive effect of $451,000, almost $452,000 on our investment portfolio. Currently, the total portfolio is yielding 3.08%. This time last year, it was yielding 1.99. The money market fund, where we have a significant portion, is currently yielding 4.94%. And our remaining fixed investments, fixed income investments, are yielding 2.8, which is up from 1.97 a year ago.
So y'all probably know what I'm about to say, and, I'm sorry to sound like a broken record on this, but it just still, to me, having almost $13 million overnight cash,
That's getting 4.9.
Getting 4.9% overnight cash.
It
Okay.
is, the,
I thought I heard
Synovus-
2.8 a minute ago.
Yeah, the Synovus money market fund that's in is a much better arrangement than the overnight cash accounts we had set up with.
And what's getting to 2.8? I must have misunderstood you.
That's fixed income investments, bonds, and municipals.
Okay, I misheard that. Okay.
I will note of the 7 million that was transferred into, from the R&R, 2 million of that was that last ARPA check. So, and we do track that separate, just. On page 7, the only note there is our ending balance there, $76,283 and, yeah, $76,283,000. Any questions? All right, on to page 8, our project report. Our ending balance from fiscal year '22 for construction in progress was a little over 37 million. Currently, we're at 26,400,000. And again, that will change a little as any remaining invoices or pay-ups come in on projects. Encumbrances of ongoing projects, 16,424,000. For the year, our total expenses on current projects and projects that have already been capitalized, total of a little over $13,400,000. So quite a bit of work has gotten done. If you turn to page 9, there is a breakdown there of each funding source, R&R, capital, SPLOST, and G-Fund bond projects. And at the bottom for the capital fees, that $2,300,000 in tap fees for each district, just of a note for the deposits for each district, if you want to see that information. Any questions?
No.
That's all I have then.
Thank you, great report.
Thank you.
Mr. Burrows, or anyone else, or anything else before the committee today?
The only thing I was gonna say, we did get preliminary numbers on the upcoming flood insurance renewal for the August, meeting. Looks like flood insurance is going up about 28% or just shy of $8,000.
8,000.
So just a heads up on that.
Are we still looking at kind of the overall insurance and looking at what assets we feel like we need to?
Yeah, the only thing we have flood insurance on is this building and then the lab buildings at the wastewater plants because of the expensive nature of lab equipment.
What's the elevation here? Just curious.
Below the floodplain, I know that. I don't know what exact the elevation is, but
Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah, I was just curious.
it's you need a boat.
Yeah. Did
That's
we
a good
flood
way to
Mike
put it.
last year or anything?
The parking lot flooded. I don't think the building actually
Didn't get
flooded
anything.
during those storms, did it, Miss Pam? Right.
All right, anything else?
That's all I got, sir.
Mr.
Nothing
Cook?
for me, no.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. All those in favor?